Hi, my name is Jess. This channel has been dead for about 5 years, but welcome. I talk about books here. There is no market at the moment, especially not at the moment, but not even 5 years ago, for a booktube channel that is low budget, low edited, no edited content on booktube, especially not with the amazing videos people are pumping out nowadays. But I want to talk about books. I want to do it on a video platform. I talk about books on Instagram and Threads all the time, and yeah, I just wanted to make a video because I'm sick of posting. So I'm going to post this. I'll shoot it out on my Threads if anyone wants to watch it. If no one watches this, it's fine. I just want to talk about books. So I'm going to talk you through some of the books I read last year, some of the books I'm reading this year, what my reading tastes are, how my reading tastes have changed from when you might saw it. My reading tastes when about 5 years ago, and probably through most of my reading life, has been predominantly horror-based reading. I read horror and literary fiction, so I also really enjoyed book prizes back then. I haven't really read a book prize book this year, I don't think. I read a few last year. But yeah, I'm still definitely a horror girl. I love it. I read less thrillers, more horror. So what I'm going to talk you through is what I enjoyed last year, just show you what my tastes have generally been. Me and everyone else on the planet obviously enjoyed Dima Copperfield last year. If you didn't read Dima Copperfield last year, where were you? No, I'm joking. But if you don't know, this is a retelling of David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Barbara Kingsolver, this is the only book I've read from her so far. I bought another one. Yeah, it's just there, the Poisonwood Bible, which I have to get to, but this was phenomenal. I can't believe she is 70s, 80s, you're a woman writing from the perspective of an adolescent boy. It was incredible. Another book I really loved, Chain Gang All-Stars. I saw some not so great reviews for this, but I just thought it was brilliant. I thought it was, you know, it's kind of skewering the prison system, and I thought it was really great. On the last page, I just thought the plot was great, just in general. Not like the message was amazing, but I just thought the plot was great. I followed through. I cared about the characters. I shed a tear on the last page. I thought that was great too. I think my copy is actually signed as well, which I'm pretty proud of. Another book that copped a bit of hate, I think. I just think because off the back of The Great Believers, which I haven't read. I've got it somewhere. Of course I do. Yeah, I have some questions for you. I thought this was a brilliant podcast thriller, which is admittedly one of my favorite thriller genres. Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. What a book. This came out of nowhere for me. I didn't have the physical copy. I borrowed the book from the library and listened to the audio while I was reading it. And this just came out of nowhere. Like I thought a few people were talking about it. I saw it at the library, picked it up. It was so good. This is another thriller. I remember seeing people talk about the premise, you know, Sally Diamond's strange. Her father told her to put his body out on the curb when he died, and so she did, and that's how the story starts. And I was like, sounds like a poor imitation of Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. And whilst those two books have similarities, this is darker, much darker. Check trigger warnings for that. I think Eleanor Oliphant's not light, but yeah, anyway. Probably, I want to say my favorite book of last year, or second to the next one. My second favorite book of last year, or close for equal first, is The September House. I adored this book. I thought it was so good. I mean, everybody's loving this book. Everyone was loving this book last year, so I'm not special, but yeah, it's so good. I just really loved that whilst scary stuff is happening, it's new. You're not scared because she's not scared. So the protagonist, whose eyes you're seeing all this happen through, is not scared of this haunted house that she lives in, and that every September, you know, the walls bleed and there's ghosts walking around, and she's not scared. So then you're kind of not scared. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was amazing. Another book, which I think is equal first to my favorite book of last year, was The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis. And boy, am I glad I read this before I read American Psycho. So I read American Psycho earlier this year, and I know that book is beloved. I don't think I'm an extreme horror girly. I just don't think gratuitous violence is for me. I think you can do horror, Bret Easton Ellis can do horror without being gratuitously violent. However, people enjoy it, and I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum. I just don't think it's for me personally, or at least it's not for me right now, because you're about to see later. I've said this in the past about something, and so it's not for me right now. I'm not an extreme horror girly. American Psycho was a lot. There is no doubt through that book and through this, Bret Easton Ellis is an amazing writer, though. He is incredible at writing. This book follows Bret, our main character. I think Bret Easton Ellis. It's essentially his childhood, which, I mean, I think a lot of his books are autobiographical. I mean, most people write what they know. So it's rich kid. I'm pretty sure he's in Los Angeles, coming of age, about to leave school. And so just dealing with sexuality and rich kid problems. However, there is a serial killer slowly circling his group of friends, and it's so good. Like, I loved it. And then finally, this book I think was from this year. Several people are typing. So I love these strange little crazy weird books. Like, for example, the Kevin Wilson book. I can't remember what it's called, but where the kids spontaneously burst into fire. Love that book. This, I would sit this in the strange little weird category books as well, like that. Several people typing is about, like, there's Slack. I think Slack is a real thing, but here my work has Microsoft Teams, which would be the same thing. He gets sucked into Slack, and the Slack helper bot, he swaps places with it, and he's stuck in Slack. And so all of his team and all of his co-workers think that he is doing a bit. So yeah, it's really good. I'm sorry about how many times I say I got to get used to talking again. So what else have I read this year? Well, I've been really, 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 really loving these unhinged woman books, you know, just like crazy murderous type women books where they're just, you know, that's that trope that everyone else is loving too. But yeah, I'm really into it. So I'm, loving those. Also always on horror. So obviously I read We Used to Live Here, which is probably, I also read Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay and loved that. I've read some Stephen Graham Jones this year, obviously always. Loving all of that, loving all the horror. I have to get the Joss Mellerman book, but yeah, I read this, We Used to Live Here. I didn't find it as scary as everyone else did. Don't get me wrong, there's some unsettling, horrifying parts to this book, but I didn't find it as scary. I just thought it was brilliant. I know this was written on Reddit and won an award for scariest story, and now it got turned into a novel. Anyway, I'm just excited to see what Marcus brings out next, because I'm about that book. Now, shockingly, something I have been reading this year, which I've always said I would never read, is romance. So I used to insist that I hated it, and I do think I hate a certain type of romance. I'm just finding my way. I've read a bunch of romance this year, and a lot of it I haven't liked. I really like the start of romance books where you're getting to know the female character. There's lots of problems, like all that stuff. But when they start getting in the love interest and then they start, like, I don't know, courting or whatever, I get really bored. However, there's a few exceptions, so I should just read the popular books. I am a basic girl. I have always loved the popular books. You know, I always loved Gone Girl, loved Girl on the Train. I was Dan Brown girl back in the day. Like, I am just basic. So, Bride, I picked up Bride. This was interesting. The spice was a lot. I was not prepared, but however, I haven't burnt my spice buds off, as some people on Threads have told me. So some people say this spice isn't a lot, so look that up. But I did like the dark elements, like the paranormal romance element of that. I thought that was really cool. So I need to kind of, I think, explore that more. However, one that I loved was Mile High. I read this recently and I thought it was just, I don't know, it just sucked me in so quick. This is your basic romance, like, they don't really like each other. So I guess it's enemies to lovers, although I don't think they're enemies, but they just don't really like each other at the start, and then they love each other, like whatever. I really liked it. And then finally, what I'm reading currently, I'm 170 something pages in to Funny Story by Emily Henry, my first Emily Henry. And I am loving it, like laughing out loud. So that's where my reading is at right now. So if you see me tomorrow or in 5 years,